Candy with eyes to Jesus.blogspot.com, and welcome as we discuss MBTI. I'm an INTJ.
And I am an INTP.
And this is my husband, Eric.
And my wife, Candy Girl. Yes, this is somewhat of an introduction to MBTI for those of you who have never heard of it. And it's actually an advancement of the what's called Jungian psychology, and that starts with the J, Jungian.
Not just his psychology, it's typology. It's
Typology.
Like a personality.
Personality typology.
Yeah.
This is a good subject for anyone to learn, no matter what you're trying to do in life, because it helps you deal with that wild card of when you're meeting somebody and how to interact with them most effectively. There are certain people that if you say certain things to them, you might just be joking, but it's their weak spot and you will greatly offend them. And if you can avoid doing that, why not avoid doing that, you know? And you can actually get good enough using this system, which I found to be very accurate about personality types. You can get good enough at it to where when you meet somebody, you can probably figure out what type of personality they are within the first 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, you can start figuring it out pretty quick. And what's neat with the MBTI system, it seems to be fairly accurate. I've looked into others, you know, like the Big Five and Enneagrams and various others. And some of these things would describe me to a point, but would always be somewhat off. But the MBTI, the general descriptions of INTJ and the cognitive stacking of an INTJ, it fits me.
And the other thing is this, of those other systems you looked into, is there any way of just meeting somebody and starting to figure out where they're at in a very accurate way, just by interacting with them? Can you do that with those other systems?
I don't know that I've delved in them enough to determine so, but I don't think the other systems have as much science behind it as MBTI actually does.
Yes. As an INTP, and by the way, the INTP type is very analytical and system-oriented. So this is a system by which you can understand personality types. And when you break it down, there's just about any time you come up with a system to understand something. For instance, even the electrons and neutrons system, the number of electrons in the atomic chart of the elements. That's just a system to understand something that we see physically and how they interact with each other. By the way, it's a fairly accurate system, and I think whoever came up with some of the basics of that was a genius. But the determining factor of whether or not any system's worth having around is whether or not it's effective in helping you guess or understand the big picture. And the reason that I'm even wasting my time, because I wouldn't waste my time with this if it wasn't helpful, is that it does work. And when I first started learning about this about 2 years ago, they were saying, the people in the MBTI Jungian psychology community were saying that you are wired this way at birth and there's nothing you can do about it. And I just didn't believe that. I'm like, yeah, right. I thought, look, you hang out with a certain group of kids, probably between the ages of 5 and 12 years old, and you kind of start to be a certain way interacting with that group, and that's just how your personality develops, and that's that.
But then you look at wiring and brain science, and there's books on this that shows specific areas of the brain and specific activities that actually go with the specific different types.
Yes. Once I found out that there is neurological wiring associated with the cognitive functions as expected by the Jungian psychology typology system, that's when I said, oh, this looks like a hard science that's actually just real. It's not just a matter of opinion, it's just a matter of how well do we understand it yet, but it's there.
Yeah, and that's why it kind of irks me a little bit when I'll see well-meaning people online or even on YouTube, and they'll say, oh, well, you can change your personality type, you can become a different personality. I don't buy into that at all, but even if you could, you'd have to be within your own quadra, so you would still have your same cognitive functions, just in a different order.
Yes. You would call this the nature part of your personality. So you have nature and nurture, and they both are important. But when you understand your nature and the nature of the people around you, you are able to understand a little bit more with some kind of useful helpfulness to you what the Bible meant by can a leopard change its spots. Those spots on a leopard are growing where they're growing as per the genetic dice roll of that particular animal. And that spot's going to be there. Unless you do something to cut it out surgically or something like that, that's where that spot's going to go.
I remember having pretty strong INTJ traits at the age of 2. I remember when I was 2 years old and my parents decided to have a date night, and that's the first time I recall ever having a babysitter. And I remember the whole time I'm standing in my playpen just staring at the door, ignoring the babysitter, and I'm just analyzing, well, this is different. This isn't what they normally do. They were wearing different clothes and they left without me. And I wasn't upset. I was just waiting for them to come back. And I stared at the door until they came back.
You were future expecting. You see, an INTJ, their first function is something called NI. Intuition, internally focused.
Yes, introverted intuition.
Introverted intuition. And so what they do is their natural first function, and by the way, your first cognitive function is something you do all the time. Some people refer to it as your hero function. It's where you go when you want to solve problems. It's what you do most of the time.
Yes, your dominant.
Your dominant function.
Thing, yeah.
And you can do it all day long without becoming fatigued.
Yeah, it's just how you think. Like, you know, when I remember also when I was 4 years old, and this kid a couple years older than me in the neighborhood wanted to borrow my bike, and of course I didn't know how to ride it yet. I just kind of walked around pushing it around, and I kind of already knew he was going to do something not very nice with it, so I wasn't too surprised when he pushed me down and ran over my chest with it. But I didn't cry. I laid there and I analyzed how the pressure of the bike tires felt against my chest. And I was surprised that it didn't hurt nearly as bad as I thought it would. In fact, I was kind of wanting him to do it again to kind of verify.
Second set of data.
But he seemed rather freaked out that I didn't react, so he kind of ran off.
Well, she was pretty funny on this one. How old were you again?
I was 4.
4 years old. She gets up and says, "Can I have my bike back now?"
Yeah, can I have it back now?
And she wasn't crying and freaking out, which is, I guess, what his goal was. He was probably some kind of
He was
SP.
just some bully, you know, that like to make kids cry. Well, I don't cry. I don't like crying, and I saw no reason to cry.
And so instead she analyzes the situation. That is a T personality type. An F personality type would have reacted with feelings and emotions.
Yeah, T is for thinking, and my judgment function is a thinking function. So I make my judgments from thinking, not from feeling. So therefore, when I was judging what was going on with the bike going over my chest, I wasn't going off of, oh, my feelings are hurt, he's being mean to me. I was going off of analyzing the pressure of the tires against my chest as it ran over me, and being pleased that it didn't hurt as much as I anticipated.
Well, so the reason for learning this, the reason it's worth your while to learn this, is because one of the biggest mistakes we make as human beings, and just about everybody makes this mistake sooner or later, is that you just assume other people kind of view the world the way you do. And so I, as an INTP personality type, am constantly analyzing and thinking about stuff, running it through my brain, trying to decide logically what the best answer is to solve certain problems and stuff like that. I would just naturally assume that's what other people do. But that's a bad assumption.
I notice that quite regularly, especially with pastors of churches or public speakers. They will speak in such a way, or they'll say specific words where they think that everybody thinks that the way that they think. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's what people tend to do. People tend to think, well, this is how I think, this is how everybody thinks. No, there's 16 different ways.
There is a psychological phenomenon known as projecting. When somebody starts accusing you of doing something, they're actually thinking that you're doing what they would have done in your situation, and they're actually projecting who they are. Well, it turns out that if you understand this MBTI Jungian personality cognitive stacking system that you're born with, you will actually learn quite a bit about somebody in such a situation. Like a lot of times if you're talking to somebody who's left-winger, you know, politically, a lot of times they don't like to deal with the facts, and when you disagree with them, they just automatically assume that you're a bad guy. Well, a lot of people who go for the Democrat left-wing political ideology They're F-type personalities. They are feelers first, thinkers afterwards. They make their decisions in life based on something called values, whereas I make my decisions based on logic and rationale. So they do a value system, and then so if you disagree with their telling you, they're going to think, oh, well, wait a minute, I'm a good person, and I believe what I believe because that's the good person thing to do. They automatically think that I see the world the way they see it, and therefore, since I'm not agreeing with them, I am looking at the world and I'm coming to the wrong conclusions and I'm a bad guy. So they start doing the character assassination thing, the ad hominem attack.
That's what I was thinking, yeah, the logical fallacy of ad hominem.
Yeah.
And come across this, if you are a thinking type as well, that maybe you are in a debate with someone. This could be online or in person. And when you make some good points that they can't refute, instead of discussing those points further or admitting defeat, they will turn to attacking your character assassination, or they will start calling you names.
And the reason they do that is, most likely, almost for sure, by the way, this would be almost 100% certainty that the person who's doing that is an F personality type. So they are looking at the world through value judgments, and you're basically disagreeing with their values. They obviously think their values are good, and that makes you a bad person. They start looking for flaws in your character. Now, the frustrating thing for those of us who are T personality, who think logically and rationally, is we have very good reasons for why we're saying what we're saying. And a lot of times, the value judgment is a quick sixth grader answer to a problem, which will have all sorts of new problems that it introduces. And so when I'm disagreeing with one of these F personality types, I'm ready to give them all my reasons. They're not interested in hearing the reasons. Because even if I did give them the reasons, that would push them into the lower thinking functions. If you're an F personality type, your F functions in your brain, your cognitive functions that have to do with feeling, are higher in your stack. You go to them first. And you go to the T, the thinking functions, after the F functions. Now, nature versus nurture, that's your nature. I happen to know from practical experience that when you actually solve problems by thinking about them rather than just feelings, because feelings can change like by the minute or hour or whatever. Tomorrow I feel different than today.
That's why the Bible says the heart is desperately wicked.
Yes. When you derive to the best possible answer by logic and reason, you can count on that answer being true tomorrow, unless new data comes in which case you need to reevaluate and possibly fine-tune that. But if you're making your decisions based on feelings, oops, you'll have one feeling today and you think this is a good idea. Tomorrow, it could be something totally different.
Yeah, and stereotypically, society, maybe even subconsciously, you could say, more expects females to be F-types and males to be T-types.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about the INTJ personality type, and you know anything about the southern states and those Baptist churches and what they expect of Christian women, yeah.
That's why we get kicked out of Baptist churches.
Yeah.
My wife goes around talking with people about certain aspects of Bible verses and what they mean and everything, and she wants to get into the thought processes of it, and the whole social butterfly thing just really isn't happening.
Yeah.
And I'm very thankful for that, because I don't know if I could deal with a girl that was that way.
But I'll tell you what, being in a society,
married,
especially in Christian circles, where not only are you a female like me that's not an F-type, but you're an INTJ. INTJs are known as the cold humans, where INTPs are known as the warm robots, right? So I'm expected, especially by certain Christian society, that I'm supposed to be gentle and compassionate and have hospitality and I'm going to give you a hug, I'm going to comfort you. Yeah, those things are nice, but frankly, they kind of make me want to gag. I want to go for what's more important in my book, and that's going to be truth. I want to go for what's true. Let's look at the facts. Let's look at the scriptures.